What's up, everybody? It's Izzy.
Actually, it wasn't me, but now it is. So today is episode 104 of the Q&A. If you enjoy the Q&As, please consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. If you want to work with me directly for coaching, just shoot me a DM on Instagram or an email. You can find that in the description box on YouTube or in my bio on Instagram. Same thing goes for ebooks. If you want to check out any of my older ebooks, there's a link in my bio and a link in the description box on YouTube. So with that said, let's get into the first question of the day. What do you think about core work for powerlifting? So most people can go a very, very, very long ways without any direct core work for powerlifting, particularly if they never get above like a 600 squat or so. That said, you really only need 2, maybe 3 sets once or twice a week to ensure it never becomes a weak point. So why not just throw it in? Just do it. How is the behind the neck press feeling so far? Is this viable on an angled Smith? So I don't know if it looks like I'm using an angled Smith on the video, but I'm not. This is a straight up and down Smith. I couldn't tell you whether or not it's viable on an angled Smith as I've never tried it. On paper, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work. You might have to move your head a little bit around the bar path like I am here, but it should be fine. As far as how it feels, it feels like a shoulder press. My shoulders haven't exploded or anything yet, so I think I'm good to go. So I suppose this is as good a time as any to cover why I'm doing the behind the neck press to begin with. And it's very simply because I wanted to do a press in the scapular plane, as that's going to minimize upper pec involvement. I tend to have a large natural arch in my upper back. And you can see even on me now doing this 50-degree incline with my arch, it's probably more like a 35, 40-degree incline. And the same thing was happening when I would do high inclines. When I would do the 60-degree incline, it almost felt like it was equal parts front delt, or maybe a little bit more front delt, but a lot of upper chest as well. And that's not necessarily a problem, but I'm doing such a high-frequency program that when I was pairing that with another low-incline bench, I felt that they were overlapping a little bit too much and interfering with each other's progression. It was a little bit too much chest. So I wanted a pressing motion actually in the frontal plane, not the scapular plane, which means that I wanted my elbows flared out wide so that it was almost all shoulder. And this wasn't necessarily about getting a better shoulder stimulus. It was just about taking the upper chest and chest out of my quote-unquote vertical press so that I was giving more recovery resources towards my low incline press for chest. And it just so happens, of course, that in so doing, it makes my vertical press guaranteed to be limited by shoulders. The only issue with a frontal plane press is you tend to hit yourself in the head. So typically to get around that and do a vertical press with your elbows flared out, you can use dumbbells or you can use a shoulder pressing machine, which, is unilateral. I didn't want to go with either of those options because when you're doing one arm at a time, it's not as stable in my experience as the Smith machine, as it tends to push down one side of your body and not the other, and it makes it a real challenge for core bracing rather than just being a shoulder movement, and it isn't with the Smith. So it occurred to me that I could just do the behind the neck press, and that would be a frontal plane press while staying on the Smith machine and without any of the stability problems. So all in all, even though the behind the neck press clearly looks cooler than other vertical presses, I'm not doing it because I think it's better. I just think it was a better SFR pairing, given the fact that I'm doing such a high frequency program and chest is one of the first body parts for me that starts to have recovery issues, especially on high frequency programming. So picking a press that was pure shoulders was just a better SFR move for me in this particular situation. How to program machine work if you oscillate between gyms with different equipment. I would just track your PRs at each individual gym. I'm assuming you're not traveling permanently and at a different gym every single time. And in which case, just train to the same proximity to failure. And then every time that you find yourself back at that gym again, you can reference what you did last time, even if it was 2 weeks ago. Just remember, your body doesn't know that you're using a specific machine. It knows mechanical tension, and as long as you're staying close to failure, over time you'll progress. What are the benefits of machine dips versus free weighted dips? So let's take a step back and actually talk about free weights versus machines, because otherwise I can't answer this question. We have to talk about this on paper first. So on paper, based on the literature, there are absolutely no advantages to free weights whatsoever. Free weights do not provide superior hypertrophy outcomes, superior strength outcomes. They don't even have better carryover to sports in the real world. Now, again, on paper, let's talk about the advantages of machines, which there are many. Machines potentially have an adjustable strength curve. Machines are always going to be more stable. Like we can consider your dip example here, right? Instead of having a bunch of weight hanging from a belt that's swaying back and forth as you try to balance yourself on handles, you can be seated on a machine with chest or back support that keeps you in one spot. So instead of this logistical equation where you're trying to balance 100 pounds between your legs, you're just pressing down on some machine handles, and that's going to let you get closer to failure. So again, on paper, a well-made machine is always going to have a better stimulus to fatigue ratio than a free weight movement. However, there are some actual disadvantages to machines, and that is that they can be made extremely poorly, and not all machines are well-designed machines, and not everyone has access to even a single well-made machine in their entire gym. Some machine dips, for example, can have awkwardly spaced handles that hurt you. Some machines don't allow full range of motion compared to a free weight movement because you just simply bottom the thing out. Another common problem with dip machines specifically, they might not have a seat belt, in which case they're worthless because once the weight gets heavier than you are, you just end up doing dips on the handles anyway, since you lift yourself out of the seat before you lift the weight off of the stack, right? And you can think of similar problems with every single type of machine out there. And last but not least, again, off paper, in the real world, there are many experienced lifters who are very big and very strong who will claim that, yes, there is sometimes a little bit of magic to certain free weight movements. Completely disregarding strength training free weight purists, it's still very common to hear lifters with tons of experience and who only care about hypertrophy say things like, I tried pull downs, but pull-ups give me a significantly better stimulus and they just grow my lats better. I've tried it both ways. I don't know why that's the case, but it is the case. You'll often hear that for bent over rows versus machine chest supported rows as well. And you'll hear it for a variety of movements. Whether any of this is true, it's up for you to test and find that out for yourself. But I have experienced similar things on certain free weight movements versus certain machines. So I do believe there is definitely something to it. So here's the bottom line for me. If you get a poorly made machine, it's pretty much always going to be worse than the free weight variation because the free weight variation is more adjustable. You can change your grip width, your stance, your body lean to get something that fits your structure and it doesn't hurt. But if you happen into one of these rare, well-made machines that perfectly fits your structure, that has an awesome strength curve, that's extremely stable, especially compared to the free weight variation, you're probably on a set per set basis going to get better results with the machine variation. However, again, there could be a little bit of free weight magic on certain movements and you have to try everything, test it for yourself, and form your own opinion. Alrighty, folks, that is it for today's Q&A. So as always, if you enjoy the Q&As, please hit the like button when it comes out on YouTube to help with the algorithm. If you'd like to become a more substantial supporter of the Q&A, I'll throw up a link here to the Patreon. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can find that link in the description box. To work with me directly for coaching or to check out my old ebooks, just go to my bio on Instagram, shoot me a DM, or click the links in there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, there will be links to my ebooks in the description box on YouTube, as well as my email address if you'd like to talk to me about coaching. So that is all for now. We'll be back with episode 105 on Saturday, which will be a much more interesting workout because I'll actually squat and do good mornings again versus today where all I could really do was leg extensions and leg curls to give my lower back a break. And no one cares about those. Until Saturday. Peace.